MVP. Golf swung, right field. Forget about it. Rangers strike first. Goes after the first one. Drills a high fly ball. Left center field. This game is tied. From Javier. Seager hits a high fly ball. Deep right field. A bomb in the first. One swing. Drive. It's tied. Seager smashes the ball down the line. Goodbye. Now Seager to right center field. Way back there. Shot again. Corey Seager does it again. It's Rangers win the World Series. The Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Trophy presented by Chevrolet. Is there any doubt? Corey Seager.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you in the midst of the Texas Rangers offseason. Ready to talk some ball with y'all tonight. Got a few pretty major deadlines coming up here on Friday, I believe. The non-tender deadline, some Rangers names getting thrown out there, guys that were on the roster in 2024, maybe no longer with the club as of Friday. We'll see what happens. Rule 5 protection selections have gone and passed. We're going to go through the guys that the Rangers added to the 40-man roster to avoid the Rule 5 draft and potentially getting selected by another team. And we've got so much more for y'all tonight. But of course, first, here at Right on Rangers, we cover everything sports, but we cover all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers. Yes, even in the midst of the MLB offseason, it's a little slow moving so far. We talked about this last week. MLB, the offseason, it's not quite the NBA offseason. Let me put it to you that way. It takes a little while to get the ball rolling down the hill, but nevertheless, we're here ready to talk some Rangers baseball with y'all. Let's get right into it. So the 40-man additions, let's talk about it. We had a number of guys get added to the 40-man roster, and let's just go through one by one. First of all, Emiliano Teodo, the Rangers' number 6 prospect currently. Of course, this name very familiar. He played in the Futures game with us. Signed him out of the Dominican Republic in 2020. He was added, and we had a lot of talk about him, I know, on the show throughout the season. When are we going to see him? Pitched really well in the minor leagues this year. He's a guy that was officially added to the 40-man roster, as was Winston Santos, currently the number 8 prospect in the Rangers system. Winston Santos also played in the Futures game, also from the Dominican Republic. Rangers signed him in 2019. Both guys, upper 90s fastball, both excited to see one day. Maybe we'll get a spring training invite. I'm assuming that they probably will. It's a good time for some of these big prospects, at least these top prospects, to get a little bit of major league experience. We'll see what happens there. And then Max Acosta really had a nice bounce back year at Frisco, compiled a 934 OPS in the Arizona Fall League. He was another guy that got added. Carson Coleman, a guy that we actually acquired from the Yankees in the 2023 Rule 5 draft. Again, Rule 5 draft coming up, I think December 11th is the date on that. But Carson Coleman never pitched for the Rangers in the 2024 season, recovering from injury. He was injured for, I believe, a strong majority of the season. And so he actually is being returned to the New York Yankees. That's the stipulation. You draft a guy in the Rule 5. If he never plays for you in the season in which you drafted him, he gets returned to the club. So the Yankees will retain his rights. Carson Coleman, again, never pitched for the Rangers in 2024. Notable unprotected Rule 5 players. Let's talk about those guys. And then I got some people trickling into the comments. Appreciate all of y'all tuning in. We're just going through the Rangers and the guys that they added to the 40-man roster. We're talking about guys that they left unprotected from the Rule 5 draft, which is coming up on December 11th. So you had Josh Steffen and Dane Acker, guys that had pretty good minor league seasons as pitchers for the Rangers. I know not all of us, by the way, are up to date with all the Rangers minor league players. I totally get it. So I'll try my best to fill in the blanks as we go. Some people were a little bit upset about a left-handed pitcher, Brian Magdaleno, another guy that has shown some promise. Lefties always in high demand when it comes to the baseball world. So a guy that was a little surprising for me to see, but nevertheless, Brian Magdaleno, unprotected. Blaine Krim, he was a guy that had a really nice AAA season for the Rangers. Blaine Krim, a guy that I believe hit 270, 280, had some pop, drove in a lot of runs in AAA. And then Abimelec Ortiz as well was left off of the 40-man roster, unprotected from the Rule 5 draft. So we'll see what happens. I am very, very curious to see what the Rangers are doing themselves in the Rule 5 draft. I'm curious to see if there's going to be teams that pick these guys up. You sometimes can get some really, really good players in the Rule 5 draft. I think you guys might remember. You might remember Josh Hamilton, a guy back in 2006, 7, something like, I think it was 2007. The Rangers acquired Hamilton in the Rule 5 draft. That's got to be one of the biggest mistakes. The Reds, I believe, had Hamilton's rights, left him unprotected. Rangers picked up Josh Hamilton, an MVP season, and a few very deep playoff runs later. Josh Hamilton, one of the most revered Texas Rangers, of course, was plagued by some personal issues. But Josh Hamilton, a great example of what you can do in the Rule 5 draft. I mean, seriously, those are the types of guys that you can sometimes snag, that you can pick up and can make all the difference for you in a season. So I know for some of us, Rule 5 draft, what the heck is that? It's an opportunity to poach some usually minor league talent. In some cases, some guys that have played in the major leagues but have maybe bounced around back and forth. Don't know and don't have any word on who the Rangers themselves have been looking at potentially to pick up in the Rule 5 draft. But I will say there's always, every season, whether it's the Rangers or another team, there's always a guy that gets picked up in the Rule 5 draft that ends up either contributing in a big way in that season or goes to the minor leagues, comes up later on in the year and contributes on that level too. So Rule 5 draft, just so we're good on that, December 11th, Rule 5 draft. So that's coming up here in about 3 weeks or so. We'll definitely be going live after the Rule 5 draft. Let y'all know who the Rangers picked up. If anybody notable, sometimes there's really nobody of note. But at times there can be some interesting players taken. So we'll see. The show after that Rule 5 draft, we'll definitely go through all of those. The biggest thing coming up right now is the non-tender deadline. Guys that are going to be released, let go, usually guys that are in arbitration years, potentially going to get a boost in pay. A lot of times with the non-tender deadline, you see guys get let go that are due an increase in salary and are still team controlled, but haven't necessarily been performing up to standard. So there's a few guys in the non-tender deadline class, if you will, that I think the Rangers are going to be contemplating. A guy like Dane Dunning, a guy that pitched really well for the Rangers in their World Series year, but had a very rough 2024. It was not a good year for Dane Dunning. So you really hope that Dane is going to be able to improve, get better in 2024, but I'm not sure he's even going to get the chance. I think it's very likely that Dane Dunning gets non-tendered. Maybe not. I know that was a name that got thrown around a lot, though, by several Rangers beat writers. I think that somebody that the Rangers nation would maybe like to see non-tendered, a guy that I don't think is going to get non-tendered, is Leody Taveras. Leody Taveras could easily be non-tendered, but from what Chris Young, from what the coaching staff has said about him, it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case. I would be really surprised to see Leody Taveras non-tendered. Maybe it ends up happening. A guy, again, that's still under team control, but is going to be getting a bump in salary. That's what happens the more experience you get, the more ARB years you have. So we'll see who the Rangers decide to let go of in that non-tender deadline that is approaching here on the 22nd on Friday. I'm sure it's probably like an end of business thing sometime in the evening, something like that. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep y'all posted. Appreciate all y'all tuning in, though. Wednesdays is always my Rangers day. We talk Rangers offseason stuff. Not to say we can't go through Cowboys or anything else if you're here for the Cowboys. Trust me, we cover a little bit of everything, but I try and set aside a day each week to go through each team. I know I got followers, subscribers that are maybe just fans of one team, not the other. So look, everybody's welcome. We'll always make room for all the good comments. I'll definitely take time for Cowboys. Longhorns is another team we cover here at Right on Rangers. So it's a little bit of everything. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate all y'all. I'll definitely check comments. We'll keep things rolling throughout the show. I've got a number of things to go through, but let me pause and say what's up. Let's see if we got anything good. Appreciate the follows, by the way. I see a few people have followed since I started the stream. Appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much. Got to sift through some of the nonsense, if you know what I mean, but we're making it. Anything on Kirby Yates yet? Corey, what's up? Nothing really on Kirby. I know he was definitely a guy that got a little bit of love in this award season. I forget if it was for Cy Young or something like that. I think Kirby Yates got some type of vote for Cy Young, which is kind of pretty cool, actually, for being a reliever. But look, I'm going to look at the Cy Young Award totals. Tarek Skubal, by the way, won the Cy Young today, and then Chris Sale won it in the other league. But in the American League, Kirby Yates got 1 fourth-place vote. So bravo to Kirby. Nice work. Kirby Yates gets 1 fourth-place vote for a total of 2 points. Tarek Skubal did beat out Kirby Yates by 208 points, though, receiving 30 first-place votes to get the Cy Young in the American League. Seth Lugo, second place with 93 points, but no one got any first-place votes beyond Skubal. Clase, former Ranger, did not have a good postseason, Emmanuel Clase, but he makes it into third place with 66 points. He got 9 second-place votes. So, hey, cool. Glad that Kirby Yates got on the board. It's what I like to see. Chris Sale wins the NL Cy Young. Zach Wheeler second. Paul Skeens won Rookie of the Year. He comes in third place in the Cy Young voting. He got 1 second-place vote. Paul Skeens, 13, third place. Got some fourth and fifth place votes as well. So nothing on Kirby Yates in terms of, is he coming back to the Rangers? Is he not? Nothing like that. But we'll see what happens. It's still young in the offseason. I've said pretty much religiously every single week, I really don't think the Rangers are going to be bringing back Kirby Yates and David Robertson. I think it's going to be one or the other. We'll see what happens. I'd love to see both of those guys back in action. I really would, but it's just not going to happen. They had too good of a season. Honestly, both of them just killed it. David Robertson declines the mutual option. I know the Rangers opted in. We were going to be getting David Robertson at about $7 million a year had he opted in. It's more than likely he's going to be commanding about $10 million a year, and that is what most people project for Kirby Yates as well, about $10 million a year or so. I don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to afford either one of them for what they want to accomplish. CY did not really talk about Kirby Yates or David Robertson at the exit interviews, not to say that CY and the new GM and assistant GM aren't going to be checking in on those guys at all. But I will say the two guys that really got named exclusively more than anybody else, you had Nate Eovaldi and you had Andrew Heaney. Those were the two names I heard more than anything. So Nate Eovaldi is going to be a guy that a number of teams are going to be interested in, probably going to command about $20 million a year. And that is what his option was for with the Rangers. But Evo wants to lock in that last multi-year deal, if you will. Evo being in his mid-30s, you figure he could maybe get another 2 or 3 year deal. And you want to secure yourself for the future at his age. You don't want to be going on a 1-year deal. You get hurt, and then suddenly it all goes south in terms of the money-making ability. And so Evo, wise to opt out. We'll see if the Rangers can get him back. but it's probably going to be something like a 3-year, $60 million deal or 2-year, $40 million deal. We'll see what ends up happening. I don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to keep him or not. Andrew Heaney, you can imagine, is going to probably cost over $10 million a season. He had a really good year as a 4th or 5th starter for us. I think a lot of teams would love to have a guy like Andrew Heaney for depth. We'll see if that ends up working out. I just don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to afford everything that they want to do and everything that the fans would like them to do. We'd love to have David Robertson, Kirby Yates. I'd love to have Evo back more than any of those guys. I know Andrew Heaney is a really polarizing figure. Personally, I'm an Andrew Heaney fan. I think that he was the only guy. I know he was the only Rangers starting pitcher that stayed healthy all of 2024. And those that watched every single game like I did, you know that more often than not, Andrew Heaney gave you a chance to win a ball game. Did he fade a little bit late? Yeah, you had some rough starts mixed in there, but there were plenty of starts he had given up 2 or 3 runs, and the offense just did absolutely freaking nothing. So Andrew Heaney, I'd love to have him back as a 4th or 5th starter. By no means am I trying to crown him as a jewel that goes to the top of the rotation. But what I am trying to say is he's a guy that can stay healthy and is going to give you depth. If we could bring a guy like him back, I would absolutely be all for it. You're going to need to fill out the pitching staff a little bit. You've got Scherzer leaving, potentially Evo leaving. You've got some guys coming up, and you've got some guys bouncing back from injury, Malley, DeGrom, and then maybe some of the young guys step up as well. You've still got John Gray. That's a guy, another interesting one. John Gray making, I think, about $13 million next year. Do you really want to be paying $13 million for John Gray? I can't say that I'm a big fan of that idea. I think John Gray has his moments. I do think he's a dog out there on the mound. I think he guts out a lot of starts, grinds out a lot of starts. And you saw him trying to fight through some injuries last year. It didn't go so well. I'm just not wanting to pay John Gray $13 million. It's nothing personal against him. I think John Gray is a guy that probably deserves something in the single digits. The contract is what it is, but that is a guy I would like to see them potentially try and move, maybe to make some cap space for a guy like Nate Eovaldi. Right now, the Rangers, they've got some dollars to work with in this offseason, but I don't think they want to go over paying that luxury tax. I think they've kind of made that clear. The TV deal is still a little bit up in the air. By the way, the update on that, MLB came out and they made an announcement that the Rangers will not be on the reconstructed Bally FanDuel deal. There were some teams that are going to be a part of that, which kind of signals to me the Rangers are continuing forward with their own streaming service, which is great. I think that's an awesome thing. But with the Rangers right now, nothing definite, nothing announced at this point. Most Rangers beat writers expect an answer on that after the holidays. So if you're looking for a TV update, it would appear that the holidays are going to be that time frame after the holidays, I should say, where we're going to get more of a definitive idea there. Until then, I don't know how much that is going to hold up Rangers free agent acquisitions, trades, things of that nature. I hope not too much, but at this point, it's going to be a wait and see probably till after the holidays, which, going back to the original point, free agents and guys that you could see the Rangers picking up, and we'll see what happens. I am not really expecting a lot of big splashes. I'd love to see us get some of the guys back that are leaving in free agency, Evo, Robertson, or Yates. I think that would be awesome. I don't know how likely it is. I think the Rangers have one spot available left in the 40-man roster. Clearly, if you trade or if you release some players at the non-tender deadline, you're going to have more space even beyond that. So I'm excited to see what happens on Friday, just from the standpoint of, I think once Friday comes and goes, talking about the non-tender deadline, you're going to get some good direction on who the Rangers anticipate being a big part of 2025 and what they're going to plan to add in the offseason. So you release a guy like Dane Dunning at the non-tender deadline. Maybe you end up going after some type of pitching in the starting rotation area, field, or in potentially the relief pitching market. We'll see. You just get a little bit more of a feel for what the team is trying to do in the offseason. That's all. So let's keep on going here. Appreciate all of y'all tuning in, by the way. Thank you so much. And I see some people have followed. Thank you. Really appreciate that. We'll keep things rolling here. I'll take all of your comments, questions. As a Diamondbacks fan, Andrew, what's up, man? I want Evo. Yeah, a lot of fans. I think a lot of fans would love to see Nate Eovaldi in their team's uniform. I mean, that dude is going to give you a really good regular season. And I know some Rangers fans were kind of souring on Evo just because he had some moments in 2024, some rough outings in there, gave up some home runs. But you're really getting Evo, in my opinion, for the postseason. Is Evo going to be that, Cy Young winner in the regular season? Probably not. But is he going to look like a Cy Young winner in October? Absolutely. Evo is a guy you trust to give the ball to in those big spots, a game 1, a game 5, a game 7. So regardless of what he did or didn't do for us in the 2024 regular season, what you're paying for in Evo is really, really elite postseason pitching. And that is something that he absolutely brings to the table. So you know that there's a lot of teams that are going to be interested in him. It just kind of depends. He's been on the record saying, the World Series journey, it matters in the decision. You win a World Series with an organization, it matters. Right? It's a big deal. It plays into it. And Evo's got a lot of good buddies that are on the team, guys that he's formed friendships with, brotherhood with. So I think that there's a good chance that Evo comes back, but I wouldn't also be shocked if he goes somewhere else. Let me keep on going here. Appreciate it. Corey, thanks for tuning in. No worries, man. Appreciate you. Let me keep going here. Thank you, by the way, for everybody that's following along. I'll keep going. If we don't have anything else for now, like I said, drop comments, questions in. I'll keep on going here. So we talked about all the guys that were added to the 40-man. We talked about Teodo, number 6 Rangers prospect. Winston Santos, number 8 Rangers prospect. Max Acosta as well, infielder. We talked about Carson Coleman, Rule 5 draft acquisition from the Yankees last year. We did not use him in the MLB. In the major leagues last year, 2024. So he's going back to the Yankees. That's the way that works. And we're just going to keep on rolling and talk about our next topic, which is the 2025 schedule getting released. Game times announced as well. So I took note of some series that if I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I would absolutely want to go to. I'm already trying to kind of plan and see what we could potentially make work. For those of y'all that have been with me listening for a while, I live in Vegas, grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, moved to Vegas about 15 years ago. Love it here, but miss Texas absolutely, more so because of the Rangers and all the sports teams I love there than anything. Also got some good buddies back home. So these are the series that I would love to go to if I lived in Arlington. So you got April 18th to 20th, a weekend series with the Dodgers. Dodgers come to town just a few weeks into the season. The World Series champion Dodgers, April 18th to 20th. That'll be a fun one. Then the next month in May 16th to 18th, you've got Houston in town. And Houston will also be in town September 5th through the 7th. May 30th through June 1st, St. Louis comes to town. Little rematch of the 2011 World Series. That should be a fun one. Yankees are in town in August 4th to 6th. And actually, the Rangers do back-to-back really, really interesting East Coast series. You got the Yankees the 4th through the 6th. Then the Phillies come to town the 8th through the 10th. So you got Yankees, Phillies back-to-back in that homestand. I think that'll be a lot of fun. You've got Arizona Monday through Wednesday, a little midweek series, I believe. Arizona Diamondbacks coming to town for a 3-game set. The last home series is going to be Minnesota, September 23rd to 25th. That'll be the final home series. Last series of the season is against the Guardians. And I think some of y'all have heard me kind of rag on this. I have no idea what MLB is doing with the scheduling and why on earth you're not putting the Rangers Astros as the last series of the season. Who cares about Guardians Rangers the last weekend? You want to see a rivalry. You want to see some interdivision matchups there. I mean, across the board, I think that final weekend, you should absolutely be playing a division rival. And look, you can't always plan it out perfectly, right? You can't always perfectly align things. You don't know how teams are going to be. You don't know if they're going to be good or bad in a given year. A lot of people thought the Rangers were going to have a decent 2024. It didn't happen. But I think everyone would love to see those division rivalries occur the last weekend of the series. Make it more fun. The division so many times comes down to 3-4 games. You have a 3 or 4 game set with a division foe at the end of the year. That's great baseball. It's almost like watching an additional weekend of October playoff ball. So I am totally 100% in favor of him just going with division rivalries the last weekend of the season. I don't really know why this is rocket science or why it's not getting done right now. Maybe MLB has a really, really good reason why every MLB team is not playing a division rival the very last weekend. But the Rangers will play the Cleveland Guardians the last weekend in 2025. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like an epic clash for a wild card spot. I think that's what you got to hope for. Otherwise, we got to play the Astros last weekend of the series. Come on now. I mean, right now, I feel like that is going to be probably the battle for the next several years. I know the Rangers had so many crazy injuries in 2024. I think it was just a weird year all the way around, a little bit of an anomaly, in my opinion. I think the Rangers are going to bounce back and be very competitive for a playoff spot in 2024. Yeah, a lot depends on what they do this offseason, but I think just the nature of it, you're going to have a lot of guys back healthy. Josh Young, full season. Evan Carter, full season. Jacob deGrom, full season. I feel really good about the Rangers being competitive in 2024. It's crazy. The Rangers, through August, with as bad of a year they had, the Rangers were competitive and still had a chance in August to make it to the postseason. So with that in mind, I just don't think it's a hot take to say they're going to be a lot more competitive in 2025. We'll see what happens, but that is the schedule, the 2025 schedule for you and the notable series. By the way, maybe the biggest series that I could have started out with, and I don't know if it's the biggest in terms of gotta watch, but it is opening day. So who doesn't look forward to that and anticipate opening day highly? I know I do. Opening day is going to be Thursday, March 27th, and the Rangers will be hosting the Boston Red Sox. Boston Red Sox coming to town for opening day on March 27th. Believe that is a Thursday. So I'm excited for that. Boston Red Sox, look, this is kind of crazy, but I remember the Red Sox had opening day. This was at the old ballpark. This was opening day 2006 or 7. I think we had the Red Sox too. I don't know why I remember that. It's just randomly coming to mind. So look, Red Sox, yet another opening day at Globe Life Field in Arlington. I don't know what the timer or what the amount of days left is on that. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Countdown to March 27th. Let's see what we got here. 127 days. 127 days left before opening day. And I think the Rangers play Kansas City for some of like the first like preseason home games after the Rangers come back from Arizona. I don't know if they've announced the spring training schedule yet. I'm going to take a look at that right now. Spring training MLB schedule. Let's see what we got. Looks like it probably is already up. We'll see. The Rangers spring training looks like is going to be officially starting usually late February. Let's see what we got here. Spring training information. Come on now. Just give me a schedule. Let's go. Just give me a schedule here. February, we got Royals on February 21st to open up spring training. Little split squad matchup. The Giants will be the first game on Saturday, February 22nd, where the Rangers have their full squad going. So February 21st, let's see what the countdown is there. 127 days to opening day, and February 21st is 93 days away. 93. There we go. There's the update. More. Let's keep on going, and I'll continue to check comments, questions along the way. What's up to everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all of y'all. Let's go to this. So, first of all, we talked a little bit about some of the different moves that the Rangers have made in the front office, right? We talked about the acquisition of Skip Schumacher. He was formerly the manager of the year in 2023 for the Miami Marlins. Was let go. I think it was kind of a mutual thing at the end of the 2024 season. Maybe a coach in waiting. We talked about that too. But right now, he is going to be a senior advisor to President Chris Young. See why. Here's the quote on Skip Schumacher in the senior advisor to the president role. We will get his feedback on almost everything related to our personnel decisions, processes, and the systems we have. So Skip Schumacher going to have his hands all over the offseason, apparently. We'll see what happens with the Rangers offseason, but that's got to be a big win. You got the manager of the year from 2023 and a guy that could very likely replace Bruce Bochy after Bochy retires. I think that is a really, really wise move after losing Will Venable. And clearly, Chris Young has big plans for Skip Schumacher in the front office. Think that is going to be an outstanding move for them. Of course, the Rangers added a new GM as well, Ross Fenstermaker, a guy that was already with the organization. And then they added a new assistant GM too. They got a guy from the Tampa Bay Rays, Cole Figueroa. So we have got a little bit of a new look front office. Chris Young still at the helm, in charge of it all, making it all work. But I like the new faces that the Rangers have added, and I'm really excited to see what they do in this offseason, adding guys. Looks like the coaching tree is pretty much all the way established, figured out. By the way, to replace Will Venable, there was a bench coach in Miami with Skip Schumacher, Luis Urieta. I think I'm getting that right. He is going to assume that bench coach position. So Skip Schumacher brings over one of his boys. And again, Luis Urieta is going to be the Rangers bench coach. That leaves Ecker to really focus on the hitting side of things, along with Veal, who was brought over from the San Francisco Giants to be the new hitting coach after Hires goes to the Braves. So that's the rundown there. Really interesting stuff too. We've got Ichiro, Dustin Pedroia, and our very own Ian Kinsler on the Hall of Fame ballot for the first time in this offseason, in this season. So we'll see what happens. I think Ichiro probably has a really good chance to be the second unanimous selection. Whoever does not vote Ichiro in this year needs to have their voting privileges revoked immediately. I'll say that again. Whoever does not vote Ichiro into the Hall of Fame this year needs to immediately have their voting rights revoked from the Baseball Hall of Fame. Absolutely ridiculous. It's hard for me to understand some of the guys that have been voted in that haven't been unanimous even before this year. But Ichiro needs to be a guy that goes unanimous, just like Mariano Rivera did. Incredible career from him. You think about what he would have done if he would have had more years in MLB. I don't see how Ichiro is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, joining Mariano Rivera. I don't know if Ian Kinsler is going to be able to ever get his selection to the Hall of Fame. It's fun to see his name on the ballot, but I think Kins has got an uphill battle. You've already got a couple of second basemen that are on the ballot that maybe are slightly more deserving than he is, just depending on who you talk to. Dustin Pedroia, though, he is probably a guy that I think most people will rank above Kinsler, even Chase Utley. Some of the numbers when you actually compare Utley and Kinsler are pretty comparable, but I think the name brand and just Utley being on the big stage, maybe a little bit more, playing with the Phillies for so long, back in the early 2010s, also had a little bit of a time with the Dodgers there as well. Chase Utley, I think a little bit more name recognition there. I think there are some things working against Kins. I'd love to see him get the nod for the Hall of Fame just as a total homer, taking all of the objectivity out of it and all of the stats out of it. Just all heart, right? All feels. I'd love to see Ian Kinsler as a Hall of Famer. Not sure that he's going to make it there. There's still quite a few second basemen on the ballot that I think are probably more deserving than him at this point. So there we go. Hall of Famers on the ballot, potential Hall of Famers on the ballot for the first time. Ichiro, the headliner, Dustin Pedroia, Ian Kinsler, and a few more as well. All right, let me keep going here. Where's Soto going? Man, I think probably he's staying in New York. I don't know if it's going to be with the Yankees, but my thought would probably be Juan Soto ends up in one of the New York boroughs. I would say he's either going to be with the Mets or the Yankees. I don't think that he is going to be straying outside of those state lines or the city limits. So that's my prediction. Soto to the Yankees or the Mets. But he claims that he's going to be taking all offers. I don't quite know what that looks like, but he claims that he's going to be taking all offers. So we'll see what happens. I really don't expect him to go anywhere else beyond the Mets or the Yankees, though. Y'all let me know what you think, but that's my take on that. Let me keep going. Comment says, bro, we need Leiter and Rocker to step up. Also, we need two relievers, a good backup catcher. 100%. The backup catcher thing. I was reading an article today about Jonah Heim. Jonah really feels confident that it was not an issue of the body breaking down at all. Jonah Heim actually feels like what he was trying to do in season, making a lot of adjustments with the swing. He thinks that it kind of messed with him all the way around. Maybe a little bit of pressing after all the accolades that he racked up in the 2023 season. World Series champion, Gold Glove. Of course, he was the All-Star game starting catcher. But I think it would do Jonah Heim a lot of good to have a quality backup behind him to give him some days off, or at least some days where he can DH. I really hope this is a better year for Jonah Heim. Look, you don't need Jonah Heim to hit 275. You don't even need Jonah Heim to hit 300. You just need a solid 250 from Jonah Heim. Like not 220 like this year, whatever his average was in 24. You just need about 250 from Jonah Heim. Like just hit 250, maybe a little 325 to 350 OBP. I think you're in business with that. We just can't have another 220, 225 year from Jonah Heim. I agree about Leiter and Rocker. Rocker, I think, showed a lot of promise early on. I know he got touched up in one of his starts, but Rocker showed a lot of promise early on. I'm actually really excited to see what he does with an offseason, with the spring training. You've got kind of that mindset now that he's probably going to be contributing at the major league level, maybe a little extra motivation there. Leiter is a guy, I got to be honest, I'm not super high on based on what I've seen from him on the field. Look, we drafted him second, third overall, whatever it was, a few years back. Leiter's in his fourth year in the major league system for the Rangers. I know he hasn't been in the majors, but you know what I mean. He's been a professional ball player for 4 years now. Like, I think at some point you got to start popping, especially as a top 3 overall pick. Jack Leiter, I'm definitely worried about. I think this is going to be a little bit of a make or break year for him. I'm not saying the Rangers dump him after this year if he doesn't perform, but look, it's not like totally out of question. You've seen some first round picks get dumped. The Rangers just dumped one of their first round picks, Davis Wenzel. I don't know if y'all all are aware of that. Davis Wenzel was a first round pick. We could have had Gunnar Henderson. He was drafted literally right after Davis Wenzel. But the Rangers took Davis Wenzel in the, what is it, the compensatory round, like right after the first round, something like that. Look, first round picks can get released. It does happen, but you don't want to see it happen because that means you epically failed scouting and projecting how good a player was going to be. In this case, Jack Leiter. So I do think this is a year where Jack Leiter needs to prove that he belongs. If Jack Leiter has a bad year, I really don't know if you can just chalk it up at the end of the season to, well, he's getting there. He's going to be getting a little bit better each time he goes out there, the offseason, blah, 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 bunch of coach speak, GM speak. I don't know if you can really keep a straight face and say all that if Jack Leiter struggles again in 2025. I'm not rooting for that. I very badly, very greatly hope that he turns it around and contributes for the Rangers, and I'd like to see him do it as a starter. I know they were trying to work him into the relief role and just get his feet wet, get him a little bit more comfortable. And he had, I would say, mixed success as a reliever. He came in a few different times out of the bullpen. It went okay. It wasn't like it was the answer or the antidote to what was going poorly as a starter. I think they're probably going to try and make him a starter out of the gate in spring training. And then in the regular season, I'm going to only assume that Jack Leiter is going to be on the opening day roster. I think that that's a pretty safe assumption, especially if you see the Rangers let some guys go. If they let go of a Dane Dunning type, I think that almost all but ensures that Jack Leiter is at least going to be on the opening day roster at minimum. But Jack Leiter, I feel, has a lot to prove in 2025. I'm not of the mindset, just give that dude the super long runway treatment, roll the red carpet out for miles and miles. Eventually, he's going to come around. I think this is a year with Jack Leiter. He's either got to show that he belongs or you got to consider moving off of him. And you know what? If he ends up popping with a different organization, so be it. I mean, the Rangers have had that happen a number of different times. Emmanuel Clase comes to mind. Number 3 in the Cy Young Award vote in the AL this year. It happens. It happens. So we will see what happens with Jack Leiter. And I agree. 2 relievers. I think the Rangers already took care of one. Curvelo added to the major league roster. So Curvelo, a guy that the Rangers signed within the last couple of weeks, does not have major league experience, but is a guy that showed some really, really good stuff at the AA and AAA level. So we will see what Curvelo is able to bring in his first full major league season. I do anticipate the Rangers probably signing a couple of more arms. Maybe it's Kirby Yates. Maybe it's David Robertson. I think in all likelihood, the Rangers are going to have to do some budget shopping, if you know what I mean. I don't think they're going to be able to go out and get the big name relievers, but I would love to be wrong. Appreciate all the follows, by the way. I see several people have followed. Really appreciate y'all. Every Wednesday, we do a little Texas Rangers offseason talk. Over the weekend, I do a bunch of football. I do college football for the Texas Longhorns, and I do NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. Woo! It's a little rough season for the Cowboys. At least the Longhorns are having a decent, good year. A little better than decent. Come on, they're having a great year. A lot of haters out there for the Texas Longhorns, but you know what? We tune them out. Can't listen to everybody you see and hear on TV. But let's keep things rolling here. We are definitely going to get to all y'all's comments. I see some more things. Let me see. Chris, well said. Yeah, we went to the toilet this past season for sure. A lot of injuries, a lot of regression. I definitely agree with that sentiment. It did not go well. Yeah, I think the easy thing, the World Series hangover maybe, but I think really what we mean by that is you had some regression, guys that were playing out of their mind in 2023. Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim was playing really, really well. Evan Carter, rookie, playing out of his shoes. And it just did not go great in 2024. Injuries right out the gate, regression. It was not ideal. Let me keep going here. Leiter pitched like he's scared. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not super high on Jack Leiter. And I hope y'all know, those of y'all that have watched me for a while, I'm not a hater in regards to, like just hoping the worst for players. I don't operate that way. I want every player on my teams to do well. But at the end of the day, I'm going to call it like it is, whether a guy needs to stay on the roster or we need to move on from. And I wish him all the best. But a guy like Leiter, I hope he does well. I'm rooting for him to do well this year. If Leiter does not perform this year, I think you've got to find a way to cut ties. He's been in the minor league system for 4 years now, bouncing around in the majors throughout the 2024 season. Didn't really like what I saw. And I know some of y'all can say the same thing. I think they're going to give him a chance. We'll see what happens. Texas Repo, what's good, man? Thanks for tuning in. I got a few people tuning in on YouTube. Appreciate all y'all. We're talking about Alex Bregman's new contract. Yeah, Breggy, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I would be happy to see Alex Bregman go out of the division. I don't know who his biggest suitors are going to be, but I would love to see Alex Bregman go out of division because that means the Astros got a little weaker. I do know that y'all have some good infielders coming up, so we'll see. Maybe they're just going to plug and play somebody who's going to be amazing, but I would not mind seeing Alex Bregman lead the division. Sounds like Bregman wants a pretty penny, though, to get re-signed. I was seeing like something along the lines of like $330 million. Like he's wanting a lot of money. I just don't know if Houston is going to want to pony up for that, but I would be happy to see Alex Bregman leave the division. 100%. Let me keep going here. Any news on Leclerc? Can we do crowdsourcing noise to get him to another team? I don't think Leclerc is going to be back. Leclerc is a free agent. I don't think he's going to be back with the club. I don't think that they are going to re-sign Leclerc. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there, my friend. I think it's going to be okay. Leclerc is a guy that is very, very good at times and then very, very bad at times. And it feels like a little more bad than good, even though there were stretch runs last year where Jose Leclerc was very, very dominant. You're talking ERAs in the 2s, but it just felt like anytime there was a big game that we needed to have in the 2024 season, Leclerc was doing something to make it unnecessarily interesting or was completely blowing the game. And talking about the Astros here, we've got, obviously game 5 burned into our brains, the Jose Altuve 3-run bomb to give the Astros the win in that game. Fortunately, the Rangers come back in game 6 and game 7. But I think it's hard for a lot of Rangers fans to get that game 5 memory of Jose Leclerc out of their minds. It's hard for me too. I think, again, probably some unfairness towards Leclerc. He's probably better than what many Rangers fans think he is. But the reality is he just has had too many moments where he's given up a big hit in a big situation. I think the Rangers are going to move on from him. Let me keep going here. Let's see what else we got. I think I got caught up. Good deal. Got all the way caught up. Excellent. So here is what we have done so far on the show. Give you a big recap. Schedule 2025 game times announced. Dodgers coming to town in April. Houston will be in May and September. St. Louis coming to town in late May. Phillies and Yankees back-to-back home series in August. That'll be great. Arizona World Series rematch in August as well. September, last home series will be the Twins. Last series of the season will be on the road against the Guardians. No TV update yet. Rangers are not a part of that restructured Bally FanDuel that MLB has been trying to work out with different teams. So I think they're just going to continue to press ahead and press forward with their own streaming service, but probably no news on that until after the holidays, so January. That's at least what the Rangers beat writers have been reporting. Keep on going here. The 40-man roster got some new additions. Emiliano Teodo, Winston Santos, Max Acosta, and then Carson Coleman, a Rule 5 draft pickup from the Yankees last year, returning back to the Yankees due to the Rangers not using him at all in 2024. Here's one that we didn't talk about yet. I know that some of y'all were interested in Roki Sasaki. Who wouldn't be? The prize free agent jewel this offseason. He's going to get posted. NPB, his team in the Japan League, is going to be sending him or allowing him to be sought after by some of the MLB teams that are interested. Roki Sasaki is not going to get that big Yamamoto deal. He's more than likely going to be signing closer to a league minimum type deal, just the way that it works with the posting system and the years of experience, things like that. So he is going to be in play, but a lot of teams are going to want his services. However, Rob Manfred came out today and he expects Roki Sasaki to sign with an MLB club as a part of the 2025 international signing class, which means he's probably not going to. In fact, if that's the case, he won't sign until after January 15th. So I think we've got a ways to go if we're waiting on Roki Sasaki. Probably not until maybe, that MLK holiday weekend that we get any kind of inkling on where he might be going. So we'll see what happens there. Rule 5 draft is December 11th. Non-tender deadline is Friday. So there's going to potentially be some big moves coming on that Friday from a lot of teams. I'm really curious to see what the division does as a whole. The Astros, the Athletics, the Mariners, Angels, who are all the non-tender guys. Those are all guys that you could potentially pick up in the Rule 5 draft. So we'll see what happens. Rangers have got some guys left unprotected as well. We talked about Josh Steffen, Dane Acker, Brian Magdaleno, Blaine Krim, Abimelec Ortiz. Those are all guys that the Rangers left unprotected, did not add to the 40-man roster. As of right now, the Rangers 40-man roster has one spot left. That doesn't mean that there can't be more spots left after the non-tender deadline, especially. And, of course, trades and things of that nature can affect the 40-man as well. We'll see what happens. And beyond that, we talked about Skip Schumacher. We talked about Fenstermaker, Figueroa, new guys added into the front office as GM, assistant GM, and Skip Schumacher being the senior advisor to the president to CY. CY says Skip is going to have a big role in the organization. They're going to get his feedback on almost everything personnel related. And then we also discussed Luis Urieta becoming the bench coach. He was Skip Schumacher's bench coach in Miami. He will replace Luis Urieta. He will replace Will Venable, who took the job with the Chicago White Sox just a couple of weeks ago. Donnie Ecker is going to just be focusing solely on hitting, along with Justin Veal, who was brought over from the Giants organization. Lastly, Ichiro, Dustin Pedroia, Ian Kinsler on the Hall of Fame ballot for the very first time. Our boy Kins has probably got quite a long shot, I think, to be a Hall of Famer, but we're going to cheer for him nonetheless. I got to think Ichiro is going to be unanimous first ballot. If you don't vote for Ichiro, I said this earlier in the show, if you're not voting for Ichiro, you don't deserve to have a Hall of Fame vote. Come on. If you do not vote for Ichiro, you don't deserve to be covering the sport of baseball. Ichiro needs to be a unanimous Hall of Fame selection, first time on the ballot, 100,000 million%, no question. All right, y'all. Let me get comments, questions, and then I'm going to wrap things up. We've been going for a while already, but I appreciate all y'all tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, we got a lot of follows tonight. If you're not following, you're not subscribed to the channel, we greatly appreciate if you hit that follow or subscribe button. Keep up to date with all of our latest and greatest content. Every Wednesday, we go live to talk about the Rangers offseason. And I always will go live too. Really nothing major has happened in the Rangers offseason yet that requires any kind of emergency live podcast. But I will say you this, if the Rangers do something special, they acquire someone, make a big trade, I will absolutely be going live to talk about it, even if it's not a Wednesday. Until then, we'll keep on staying consistent with the Wednesdays. And I think I shared with all of you guys, if you weren't here, you swung by a little bit late. I'll say it again. Saturdays, I cover the Texas Longhorns. They will be playing the Kentucky Wildcats, hosting them this coming Saturday. I believe that is an early afternoon game. And then in a couple of weeks, they will go to Kyle Field, play the Texas A&M Aggies, renew that rivalry. That'll be a lot of fun. I also cover the Cowboys on Sundays, and it is not a great season to be a Dallas Cowboys fan, but rain or shine, much like I feel about the Rangers and all the teams I love, win or loss, rain or shine, we're here. There's no fair weather fan, at least right here as a part of Right on Rangers. We're not fair weather fans here. We cover the teams we love regardless of how they're doing. It got painful at times with the Rangers last year. We survived. We're still here to tell the story, and we'll be back next week to do it again with all y'all. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Let me get some last-minute comments here in. We've got Rockets versus Mavs. Mavs 100%. I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so pretty much any DFW team I'm interested in. Stars are not my primary hockey team. I do love the Vegas Golden Knights, living here for so long. But I will say this, Stars, 100%. TCU, not my primary school, but I like seeing TCU do well. Also Mavs, Rangers, Cowboys, Longhorns, a little bit of everything. So, hey, if you like any of those teams or some of those teams, come back again this weekend. We'll talk college football and NFL. Appreciate it. Let's see. Question here. Do I think Garcia is going to DH a lot next season? I think they're probably going to have him play the field a lot, but I think everybody who was injured this year is probably going to be taking a turn at DH at some point, if I had to guess. So I think he'll probably still play right field quite a bit. I'm sure over 100 games in right field, probably over 120, but maybe 40 games or so in the mix. He's either DHing or getting a day off. We'll see what happens. I'm curious to see what the plan might be. All right, Saturday is a 2:30 kickoff. That must be, is that Texas time? I would assume that's Texas time, right? So that'll be about 12:30 for me. That works out great. So I'll be live after that 2:30 Texas Kentucky game. We'll talk about hopefully another Texas win. Texas currently favored by 21, I believe, last time I checked. So it's not supposed to be a particularly close game, but they've told us that every game in the SEC is a gauntlet. I don't want anybody to forget that, because you hear a lot of people talking a lot of noise about how soft the Longhorn schedule is. So let's just throw it out there. We got told in 2023 how bad of a gauntlet the SEC was going to be. So you know what? We're favored by 21 this weekend, but you never know in the SEC. We'll see what happens. I only mean that like halfway genuinely. All right, y'all. We'll go ahead and we'll call it a night. Aaron, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, check out the recap. I've got the recaps always posted to Facebook and YouTube. If you ever miss a live show, even my people on TikTok, I record all of these and I throw them up on YouTube and on Facebook. So even though TikTok doesn't do any kind of replay, if you ever miss a Wednesday show, head on over to my YouTube channel. I always will post all of these shows, so that way anyone that doesn't get a chance to watch it live can watch it on the replay. So tune in on Saturday or this weekend if you want to come hang out again. We will hopefully be coming at you after 2 wins on Saturday and on Sunday. Can only hope. Can only hope. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of the week. A good Thursday tomorrow and a good weekend ahead. If I don't see you, all my Rangers fans, hope to see y'all next Wednesday for another offseason show. Again, thank you so much for being a part of the channel, following, subscribing. Appreciate all of y'all. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.